All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. It is time. Welcome back to Seoul, Korea. This is the Up and Down matches, GSL Up and Down matches. That is, we want to see who's going to get into Code S. I am Doe. With me is Moletrap, and this is going to be the very last group. We're going to find out what happens next. It's going to be pretty cool. We've got 3 Terran players again. Those Terran players are none other than Startail Bomber, We Made Fox's Lin, and OGS and Snare.
Yes. We have 3 Terrans.
Yep.
3 Terrans enter. Only 2 leave to Code S.
Yeah.
And 1 also leaves to Code A. Bomber winning Code A by winning like 8 TVTs in a row.
Yeah.
And
This guy's good
including
in
a best
TVT.
of 7 against the greatest Terran previously. I would still say the greatest Terran that there is in StarCraft 2 right now. So Bomber is a force to be reckoned with. Bomber, the Reckoning.
Bomber 2, the Reckoning.
Bomber 2, the Reckoning. He has practiced TVT for like months now, so Lin's going to have a really hard time going up against him. And then the loser of that faces OGS and Snare, who looked okay, but not really that spectacular in his Code S group. So we're going to see how that goes. I think everyone's expecting the Bomber to win. You can never really count Lin out. I mean, this guy was top 3 in the world, top 3 like ever in Warcraft 3. He definitely has some RTS credentials under his belt.
Bomber's got some RTS credentials too, though.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's true. He was a Brood War
NSP
player.
fancy.
Never really very accomplished in Brood War, though.
No.
Like, even a lot of Brood War fans probably wouldn't have heard of him, especially newer ones. Whereas, if you played Warcraft 3, you might have heard of Lin. But Bomber, has definitely been showing his stuff. And we're going to take a look at the players' recent history. There's Bomber for you. Like I said, 4-2ing MVP after 3-1ing Ryung.
Yeah. And Startail Bomber, again, he did defeat MVP in the finals, too. It's pretty crazy. Nobody really expected that. Well, I think some people may have expected that, but not a lot of people.
Yeah, I was not expecting that at all. And, of course, very, very good Terran versus Terran. And here's Fox Lin's recent history in the GSL. Overall, a winning record, but recently going down in a loss to Killer. And previous to that, losing to any pro. And that's got to be disappointing for any Warcraft fans that are fans of him. But he is not out yet. He has a chance to either beat Bomber or theoretically beat OGS and Snare.
I think he could. We'll find out.
Speaking of OGS and Snare,
we'll find out.
There's his recent history. Again, a winning record. I mean, most people that are in Code S have a general winning record. He has some recent losses, though, against Lin, in fact. Wow, I actually didn't realize that. He actually lost to Lin recently, as well as to Trickster and Virus in his Code S group, which eliminated him from Code S down to the Up and Down matches. Previous to that, some success against Nesty, actually beat Nesty, beatboxer, Nesty's end.
Beatboxer.
So he was a beatboxer.
Moletrap and I are clearly not beatboxers.
Dude, I'm a beatboxer.
Are you?
Actually, not really. Well,
I believe it.
I dabble in it.
You have so many.
I dabble in beatboxing.
You have so many hidden skills, Moletrap. It's true.
They're not that hidden.
You guys don't even know.
Yeah. So anyway, we're gonna get started here pretty soon on game 1. Bomber is in the game. We're still waiting for Lin to get in here. He was probably still warming up. That's why one of the reasons why we have that 10-minute break. Little industry secret for you guys, so they can warm up, switch the booths, switch the new players in, get their keyboards all set up,
get the mouse drivers put in place and everything like that. Yeah, it's really important. If any of that is at least a little bit out of place, that can really affect your game too. So
yeah.
Definitely a good thing to give those guys time. Now, our first map for the day is going to be Crevasse. We're actually jumping right into the big maps in this TVT.
Yes, right into the big maps.
That's right.
Big maps, Crevasse, which, by the way, Crevasse is a different word from crevice.
That's true.
As I found out, apparently crevasse is in ice and a crevice is in rock.
Oh.
You learn something new all the time. Thanks
very handy.
much to those of you that tweeted us to let us know about that. By the way, if you're waiting for this match to start and you don't know what to do and you haven't added us on Twitter, I am Moltrap. Doa is Doa SC on Twitter. And, of course, GomTV is GomTV, as you might expect. Believe it or not, GomTV is GomTV. So you can go ahead and do that. If you would like to talk to us, you can @tweet us, and we will see your tweet and maybe respond to it. We'll probably read it. Almost certainly read it. We do sometimes get a lot in one day, so it's hard to respond to everyone, but
we try.
Feel free to contact us there. We get a lot of, it's kind of cool. We actually get a lot of tips from people that are like, oh, actually, like he did this, or oh, this word means that, in tweets and stuff. When we can check between the matches, it's pretty cool to.
We've learned a lot about the English language, but it looks like the game's going to start pretty soon. The lights behind me are flashing, but that means it's time to take a look at our players. There on the left is Startail Bomber, friendly guy, really nice guy.
Yeah, really cool guy.
Fun to hang out with. On the right side, there is We Made Fox Lin, and he would like to stay in Code S.
He certainly would, man.
Yep. In fact, I believe he came up from Code A last season.
Yeah, he was actually. Yeah. I thought he was pretty good last season too, and I was a little disappointed because he was showing some good skill in Code S and in Code A, and then Code S just didn't really have what it took to stick around. So I'm kind of hoping he gets back in, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's cool to see there's a lot of Brood War pros that are doing pretty well in GSL. It's good to have those mixed in, and kind of like Artosis talked about recently. I think yesterday he was talking about how we're actually getting to the point where there's not really, it's converging. There's not really Warcraft players and StarCraft players. They're all kind of StarCraft 2 players. People are acquiring the same skill sets and being comparable, but it's still fun to learn about their backgrounds and that kind of thing.
Well, it does have an effect. It does. We have seen it affect people's play styles.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, no matter what sort of play style your former RTS had, you do need to adapt to StarCraft 2. But, it has kind of proven to be true that former Warcraft 3 pros tend to have a little bit better micro initially, and the former StarCraft 1 pros tended to have a little bit better macro initially.
Yeah, just based on what those games more focused on in the pro scene.
Yep, and we'll probably see that less and less as time goes on, but it's very interesting to kind of note that early in the life of StarCraft 2.
But it's good. So basically, Lin has kind of brought that macro in. He's learned enough macro. He was obviously a very fast player in Warcraft 3 anyways, but he's learned that macro so he can bring that game back up to the StarCraft 2 level.
Wow,
very difficult game, very competitive.
They look so determined right now.
They are so determined that their ears are glowing green into yellow. Let's get started on Game 1 on Crevasse. Who will win the first game?
All right. Here we have our Red Terran player in the upper left part of GSL Crevasse. The winner of Code A, he is. And the question is now, does Bomber have what it takes to get into Code S? I think he does.
Yep, pretty much.
Yep, we'll find out. And here's the challenger.
I think he... Sorry.
Our Blue Terran player, he is. Fox Lin wants to stay in Code S, but he has got his work cut out for him, as Bomber is about as beastly as a TVT opponent you could come up against in the GSL.
Yeah, you say, does he have what it takes? I know he has what it takes. I think the question is whether or not he will bring what it takes to this game, because, he is sick. He is absolutely, and I don't mean like he has a cough or he's like insane, but I mean he's very, very... He's very good at StarCraft is what I mean by sick.
Yep.
And if he brings his A game, he's going to totally stomp on, anyone. But sometimes he doesn't, Some of his games against Ryung, he kind of made some mistakes. A couple times against MVP, he made some mistakes and let things go. So if he has an off day, Lin could easily take this off him, who is fast expanding.
Man center first for Lin. I like it. No reason, some reasons not to do it, but overall, still a pretty secure opening to do in TVT on Crevasse. I tend to think that these bases are a little bit closer than top to bottom positions, but he still should be okay. Looks like Bomber's going to happen to scout it right away. He sees that barracks and he thinks to himself, that seems a little bit late, so I might want to go up the ramp to kind of check things out. might want to harass that SCV a little bit.
I think he can infer
Yeah, he can
what's
infer.
going on without actually going up there. He may want to go up there and check it out at some point regardless.
Yep.
But for now, it's more valuable to harass those SCVs because he's forced the SCV switch at least once. And since he actually started his barracks earlier anyway without going for the CC first, he might be able to put on a little bit of pressure with some Marines.
Oh, SCV's in a bit of a shoving match there. Here comes a Marine, though. He doesn't shove, he just shoots. Going after that SCV and the other SCV.
Oh.
Going in. They're like a team.
Yep, Lin drawing
Oh,
back
wow.
the SCV that's at low health. The SCV
Bomber.
getting in the way.
Being really aggressive right now with this SCV and Marine. And yeah, now again, Bomber can just run and say, all right, you can lose all the mining time you want.
Yeah,
I can do
exactly.
this all day.
Yeah, he says, you know what, you get your expansion up faster, I'll make you pull SCVs so it doesn't matter. You still lose a little mining time and don't get us economically ahead. And I'm actually might just chill by your barracks and pick off Marines as they pop out.
Yeah, and Bomber is one of those Terrans, too, that has some multitasking to be able to do this while he does other things back at his base as well. That's called good macro.
Indeed.
And good micro. At the same time.
Good multitasking.
All right.
Putting on more pressure. Wow.
Look at that. Wow, look at that micro from Bomber. Cutting down the Marine numbers, and he just pulls back. There's no reason to pressure.
Yep, he does have a couple more Marines out in the field.
Yep.
He's just going to group them back up again and fall back home. And, you know, he did distract a little bit. And even though Lin got his command center up a little bit faster, they're about even in SCVs because he did pick off a couple.
Yeah, and the really, really cool thing about what Bomber's doing right now is that you may think, oh, he only killed a couple of Marines. Is it really worth it? Yes, of course it is worth it. If you could do that and macro at the same time, that will give you just that little edge, which may mean the difference between victory and defeat in pushes that will come later in the game. So it's like a tiny pebble that turns into a giant snowball rolling down a mountain, Moltrap.
Rolling down a mountain into a crevasse.
That's right.
And smashing your opponent with the snowball, I guess.
And it's not one of those snowballs where it's like light area snow where it hits it and you're like, oh, you. It's one of those snowballs that has ice on the inside and it hits you.
It's one of those,
really mad at your
one of those
friends for throwing
snowballs that knocks you down into a chasm and then you get your arm stuck behind it.
Oh, yeah,
you have to cut it off with a pocket knife.
You have to like bite through your own arm to escape. You know, I actually broke my arm in a snowball fight once. 6th grade, yeah. It was not from a snowball, but I had a friend who, you know how in grade school you always have that friend of yours that's like gigantic for no reason. He's just a huge kid.
I remember
that. He decided to body slam me and landed on my elbow.
Wow.
Broke my arm.
That was rude.
That wasn't fun. Guarantee you that. So, and that was the last snowball fight I was at. No, I'm just kidding. But lasted one for a while because I had a cast on.
That was the last snowball fight I was ever in that day.
That's right. There will never be another. There'll never be a more violent snowball fight.
So, sorry about that. Lin is breaking down these rocks. He wants to make a quicker path for his Marines to go through. He's got Stim upgraded a little bit earlier. He's got +1 weapons upgraded a little bit earlier. So he might be able to put some pressure back on, but that...
Lin's supply blocked for a little bit right there, actually. Ever so slightly. It was maybe about 15 seconds, but it matters. I mean, if you're trying to get into Code S, I'd say one of the first things you want to concentrate on is not getting supply blocked.
Yeah, that's definitely it's one of those little things that to be at that top level you need to do perfectly. And that's where that macro and the multitasking comes in. That's basically what macro is constantly being on top of that, making your depots, making your buildings, making your units at a steady pace. And Stim is almost done. He's breaking down these rocks. I don't think he's going to charge up once he sees those bunkers, though.
And it looks like Lin is playing really defensive, really worried about drops, things like that. That early aggression from Bomber causing Lin to want to stay in his base. There is a drop going out for Bomber. And wow, it's rallied right to where the Marines of Lin are waiting. It's a trap.
It is a trap indeed. He's anticipating this drop perfectly. And you're right, those Marines are literally standing right next to what is the perfect drop position. Now, is he going to notice it fast enough?
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Oh, look at that. Bomber with great reaction time.
Yeah. You know, some players will...
more Marines coming
here,
though.
Oh, no, he gets caught.
Oh, no. Oh, that is
And the medevac
big.
full of Marines.
That Marine still working on the rocks.
Gets picked off. That one Marine, he's like, I wanted to be a miner, not a Marine. I just want to destroy rocks.
I'm going to shoot at this pile of debris with my machine gun until it blows up. He's a believer.
Oh, man.
He believes it'll happen.
And then one day, eventually, he just hits that right pebble at the right spot.
That's right. Boom.
The load-bearing rock, and it knocks it over. Oh, no. His dreams of mining get shattered.
That was the saddest story I've ever heard.
Wow. Now,
oh, look at that.
Whoa.
Bomber is somehow predicting that Lin would create a brace on the bottom. And Bomber is probably just doing a drop around the outside to look for this very thing. Bomber does have great game sense, and he's going to find that drop right away. So this expansion is not going to do anything
He's
at
got
all.
it rallied to exactly that base. That's so hardcore.
How does he know?
Yeah, does he know that's there somehow?
He's like the Professor X Terran, man.
He has no idea it's there. He's just psychic.
He like went to the school for gifted Terrans, you know?
No, going back to the Chronicles of Riddick, you know, you keep what you kill. He killed MVP and took his game sense, man.
Yeah, you know, and he's just kind of sitting there for now. I wonder if he doesn't know about it.
Yeah, no, this is bad, though, because those Marines are actually out of position. He's already lost a medevac full of Marines.
Yeah,
and Lin has a ton of Marines outside of his base. If he doesn't throw them away on the tanks,
this
could do some damage.
And those Marines still hanging out there. What is this? Picnic time! This could get serious.
No, Doa, this is not picnic time. This is serious business. And Bomber is such a baller. He's letting the command center in the bottom right finish so he can kill it.
Yeah.
So it won't just get canceled.
That is probably exactly right. Oh, no, he did load up again, so I think he just never noticed, honestly.
No, he knew it was there.
Why would he load up then?
I think he was going to leave a few
cool tricks.
Marines, but I don't know.
He's got fancy tricks because he used to be NSP fancy. Lin losing 400 minerals right there. Goodbye, command center. And Lin
seizing up the high ground, baiting the Marines in. He picks off one tank.
Oh, wow. Look
but loses a dozen Marines or more in that exchange.
Yeah, that reminded me of the type of instance where the Marines just decide to go by themselves when you're not looking. Very dangerous. So, Startail Bomber taking a bite out of his opponent's army. Kind of like McGruff would take a bite out of crime.
Yeah.
Oh, those Marines stimming in, trying to pick up the tank.
Or kind of like Garfield would take a bite out of lasagna.
Yeah, that's right.
So right now in a moment they'll be even in upgrades, but things are really looking good for Bomber having killed those Marines. He's now going to move down here. He needs to be careful and not run into the tank range. He almost does.
Oh, Bomber, one of the best at breaking tank contains as well.
Yeah, he's got those Vikings too, so he's got air dominance, so he can start picking off medevacs and gain vision for his tanks.
Yep. Drop for Bomber, kind of hanging out on the right side of the map, not really doing anything right now. Bomber moving in, attacking where the army is weakest, insta-giving that tank. And he's got the air advantage in a big way with those Vikings, too.
Now here's Bomber's multitasking, which he already said. He finds his own multitasking a little bit lesser than MVP's. He's going in for a drop on the right.
Needs to be a little bit careful.
Into the natural, rather. While this is going on, I think it's going to get cleaned up pretty easily, but that medevac, it targets the medevac. Nice.
Yep. Good response from Lin, hardly losing anything at all right there. Bomber, in the meantime, pushing Lin back across the map. Bomber is so good at tank positioning, taking his third.
Yeah,
Lin does have his third up as well, though.
Whoa. Oh, man. I was just about to report that Lin had more Marines, but actually he still does by a lesser margin now. Yep. Lin has a few more Marines, but Bomber has those Vikings, so...
Players still both pretty even, though. Both in the 160s right now, for the moment. I take it back, Lin did lose a couple of units. But overall,
but
Lin...
they've been staying pretty much even, you're right.
Lin's keeping up with Bomber. Not playing bad.
Indeed. And Bomber is going to go around the bottom, try and get a little flanky flank going.
Yep.
Lindo has one tank on the high ground. He wants none of that.
I think, though, that Bomber is going to see this move in.
Oh, picks off that tank.
Yeah, just being very methodical. Lin trying to get the air advantage.
And he brings up that army.
Oh, and he does get it with one Viking.
This is beautiful. He's sieging that low ground. And, oops, going to try and pick off. I like that. Look at that.
Yeah.
He only stimmed like 4 or 5 Marines to try and pick off that Viking.
Oh, he's going to get the flank. That could be good.
Lin's got to be worried. He's got to be feeling surrounded right now.
Well, Lin's been pushed back, but he's still in a pretty good position. He just does not know that this army for Bomber is moving around the outside. Taking down the destructible rocks. Now Lin does. Oh, do you think he saw it?
I think he knows it's there, yeah.
Just barely caught a glimpse. He'll know it's there now. Here comes Bomber picking up a couple tanks, but I think Lin is going to be able to clean this up. Certainly he is.
But Bomber's going to attack up the hill into that other forest, and this may be a bad move. Lots of tanks there.
Oh, yeah,
and
not a
Lin
good
stims his
move.
Marines in. Oh, a slaughter of Bomber's Marines. And that is exactly the type of thing that nearly lost him games against Ryung and MVP.
Yeah.
A little bit overzealous sometimes, charging up ramps. He thinks he's so far ahead he can just A-move, and you cannot do that. You have to be so methodical in TVT, or that happens, and you lose the huge advantage you just gained.
Again, TVT just not a very forgiving matchup at all. At this level, like we said, you get 1, maybe 2 mistakes maximum, depending on the matchup. And here comes Bomber. He's going to run right into the army of Lin. And Bomber right now looks like he's got a bit larger of an army. Lin a little bit ahead in the supply, but Lin's other army back there as well. Small contingent, if you will.
Contingent.
Contingent.
Yes.
It's a fun word to say.
It's a good one.
Contingent.
Bomber bringing a couple medevacs back. I didn't actually even see if those were reporting back from a suicide mission from some Marines or not. They just came from the bottom right, but hold that thought because Bomber moving across the middle of the map.
Here he goes.
Forcing engagement, sieging up in a little bit better position, and the Marines of Lin getting slaughtered this time.
Scanning to give those tanks the range they need to take out the siege tanks, and here come the Marines for Bomber.
Picks off the tanks. Loses all of his Marines, but it doesn't matter. He's got so many tanks.
Yeah.
He has an advantage here.
Lin is still ahead in the supply, but Bomber taking the positional advantage for the moment anyway.
Yeah, and Bomber, I believe if I can find a Marine anywhere. No, he was researching +3 weapons, but he canceled it, I think, to get +2 armor for his infantry.
He's getting +2 vehicle weapons too. That's going to be pretty
Yeah.
big in those tank versus tank fights. Bomber taking his 4th base as well right now, as we can see. And so Bomber also known to be able to come back in pretty difficult TVTs. But right now, I mean, Lin doing pretty well, but he needs to make something happen. He needs to go on the offensive.
He's going for a drop, actually, in Bomber's
Big drop at Bomber's
natural expansion. 1 medevac gets taken out. The Marines sort out the turret, though, in time for these Marines to have their way with the depots. Marines charging up. Is he going to run or is he going to fight? He's going to fight, and there's no medevac for Bomber. So these Marines are going to do a lot of damage before finally perishing to the concentrated fire of those fusion cutters.
Oh, there goes the medevac. And this is the sign. Lin deciding to move in. Does he have what it takes? This may not be the best idea.
Oh no, Bomber's sitting his Marines in. He seizes up though.
Oh, Lin.
I think Lin has a little bit better position.
He does have a great position.
Because not all of Bomber's tanks were firing in that battle.
Wow, all right, so Lin able to muscle in on Bomber just a little bit.
Oh, he's going to drop a couple Marines on top. Oh, he unsieges though.
Oh, nice move by
That was
Bomber.
close
Great
one.
reaction time. Look at that.
That
Both
was
of these
close one.
players playing pretty
and
well.
Lin getting maybe a little overzealous, charging into the front.
And
As if he's coming off. Sieging up for Bomber.
A ton. And Bomber's going to be able to clean this up.
Yep. And Lin oversteps and loses all of his tanks.
Now, Bomber took a slight supply lead there. What is the worker count?
It is
Bomber
30
behind.
SCVs for Bomber to 45 for Lin, so he lost a lot
Wow.
saving that base.
Now,
Bomber has 10 tanks to 3 though, and about even Marines, so Bomber does have more of an army
he
in
does
his actual
have more
army.
bases as well.
And what is he doing? Is he setting his SCVs to... Oh, he's going to repair. Never mind.
Yeah, he needs to repair a little bit.
He's actually going for a major attack. He's
wow.
rallying to the front. Bomber is hoping to win the game right here with his counterattack. Sieging up a little bit late. Marines coming in, target firing the tanks.
Some of those tanks are pretty weak right now, but I think Bomber just might have enough. GG.
Whoa.
Startail Bomber, wow. Talk about game sense. He realized he had the chance, took it,
Yeah, that was
got
close,
the
though.
win.
And yeah, Lin won a big battle, killed a lot of stuff, and he said, I just killed a lot of Bomber's army. I'm gonna go for the kill. And it didn't work, And Bomber said, I just killed all of Lin's army. Now I can go for the kill. And that was the difference there. Bomber was able to bring stuff back in and defend, whereas Lin just had nothing left back at home in that situation. He was base behind also. So even if they traded, it would have been in Bomber's favor.
Pretty good start, though. Definitely not one-sided in any regard.
I love Bomber TVTs. He doesn't play boring TVTs.
It's like he makes his opponent play well, too. Because Lin played pretty well.
Yeah.
And,
that was good stuff.
No win for Lin that game.
No win
But
for
the next
Lin.
map is going to be Metalopolis. So a good, and this is a map. Remember, Bomber doesn't like playing on Metalopolis. He tries to downvote it any chance he gets.
So and in his games against MVP, we saw him do kind of a half-hearted all-in.
Yeah, his play on Metalopolis wasn't very good.
So he was like, I don't even want to play this map. I'm up 2-1.
This is only best of 3.
But, well, in this case, he is up 1-0, so we might see him do some cheese or something. Let's find out. Game's about to get underway here at the GSL.